Those who won our independence believed that the menace to freedom was an inert people, that public discourse is a political duty, and that the fitting remedy to evil counsels is good ones. Welcome back to Crayon Box Weekly.
Where we color outside the lines and cut through the noise.
I'm Carl.
I'm Avery.
Let's get started. Our nation was founded on protest. The Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, the Stamp Act protests, all of those things happened because Americans, back then colonials, protested and chose to speak out against the abuses of their government, to speak out against the wrongs that they felt were being committed by those who were in power. It is the lifeblood of our democracy. It is how we communicate on the public realm. It is the cornerstone of democracy. And the First Amendment protects that right. So here's the good. We still have the First Amendment. There are hundreds of years of precedent in judicial cases and constitutional law that would have to be completely undone for us to lose our right to protest. Historical wins like abolition, suffrage, labor rights, civil rights, the LGBTQ rights movement, BLM, they've all been made possible through protest. One case study to look at would be Standing Rock, in which the Sioux tribe and their allies built a movement that forced the world to pay attention to water and land rights. They effectively stopped the building of an oil pipeline through their land and ended it until the current administration. What it did is it proved that protests work. I mean, the civil rights protests, they proved that protesting worked. The women's suffrage protests proved that protests work. This Standing Rock in modern times proves that protesting can work to get the point across. And while sometimes it's a bad execution, like walking out into the middle of the freeway and blocking traffic just to block traffic, or descending into riotous chaos and burning down an entire city, those things are not the result of protesting, but they're the result of bad actors. They're the result of people taking it just a little bit too far. And in some instances, they're the result of the federal government, especially most recently, of the federal government overextending itself and taking action with a heavier hand than they should have. The biggest benefit of protests came out of the BLM movement. And the BLM movement and the videos that sparked the 2020 BLM protests showed that the police have been abusing their power, and they've been using it in order to suppress dissent. So overall, we have an illustrious history where speech is protected, but it's not just protected, it is critical to the way that we do that we function in our government. The bad is that governments continue to impose restrictions. Local and state governments have imposed permits, they've imposed curfews, we have emergency orders. Recently, you have the Trump administration federalizing the DC police and DC law enforcement and pushing into DC with National Guard troops. Before that, you had National Guard troops going into Los Angeles, supplemented by Marines, to curtail what was supposedly violent protests that weren't violent. Their responses are done in such a way that, you have surveillance that has facial recognition, drones, phone tracking, all of those things that make it harder for people to be willing to go out into the streets and willing to dissent with their government. A case study here would be the January 20th protesters, who on Inauguration Day, they protested and were kettled by DC police. Kettled is the process by which police surround a group of protesters and then arrest them after they've surrounded them, giving them no place to go, nowhere to flee. Now, none of the charges that were brought against any of these protesters ever managed to shine light or managed to be validated. They were all dropped. But the very fact that it happened is an example of how that action can dispel and chill protesting and dissent. In addition to that, you have states like Florida who are passing riot definitions that are overbroad and way too nebulous, and wind up bringing peaceful protesters in as rioters. And in that same stance, they're passing laws that make it illegal and providing legal immunity to drivers who run over protesters, because protesting has been reframed as disorder. The ugly is that we are seeing tactics that, as an analyst, I saw being used in authoritarian regimes like Qatar and Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and China and Russia. And those tactics are the use of tear gas, rubber bullets, kettling, intentionally putting forces into environments where just their presence alone will escalate a peaceful protest into a riot. You have selective enforcement, where black-led protests face triple the likelihood of police force compared to right-wing rallies. I mean, even now, in recent times, we've seen the Patriot Front, which is a far right-wing white nationalist group, openly walking down the street with swastika flags and their faces covered, and no one's stopping them. You have the January 6th, 2021 protesters who openly broke into the Capitol building, broke into Congress, destroyed public property, beat officers with the American flag, who were charged with the crimes that they committed, with trespassing, because they were in a closed building. They were all pardoned. And yet, black-led protests continue to face tampons. Case study here, it's the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020. It was one of the largest protest waves in U.S. history. And mind you, it didn't come close to the No Kings protests of this year, but they started out as peaceful demonstrations. They were oriented to drive police reform and to eliminate statues of Confederate generals, which were built in the 1960s, folks. Like, don't let anyone tell you that, oh, well, these statues were erected by our in history by the Civil War era. No, they weren't. They were erected by the sons and daughters of the Confederacy in the 1960s in response to the Civil Rights Movement. So all of these things, they were there to pull things down, but they were met with violent crackdowns. Tear gas and rubber bullets and curfews and mass arrests, they were all used first. which sparked backlash, which created the violence, which allowed for the authorities to continue the narrative of these protests or riots and that they are violating the law. We now have a state in which our government, our federal government, is conflating protesting with terrorism. That's the ugly, folks. The ugly is that while we saw a rise in protected speech and the right to dissent during the 1960s, we are now seeing those rights being taken away one by one because they don't jive with the people who are in power. It's important for us to review this. It's important for us to see the history. It's important for us to know where we're going. Because if we don't know where we came from and we don't know where we're going, we're never going to be able to maintain and protect our own rights.
And we're not saying don't do anything. And I know that it's hard, and I know that you could be scared to do these things when you feel silenced. But by doing nothing, you're allowing the others to win. You're allowing the other side to just silence you, and you are literally just as bad. You're just as guilty as them because you're giving space for them to only broadcast their message. It's just like the quote that you see everywhere. It's first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak out because I'm not a Jew. Then they came for me. Sorry, that was a little hard. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And, it kind of goes in, honestly, what's happening as we see it in this day and age. People are afraid to speak out, to let how they feel be known, and the dissent is getting quieter and quieter.
So, what can you do? What can we do? It's easy for us to throw up our hands and say, "Oh, we're cooked," right? Like my daughter taught me that one. It's easy to throw our hands up and just give up and just let things go and let the pieces fall. But the harder thing is to take action and take agency over yourself and over your community. And what I mean by that is the first thing you need to do is develop legal literacy, right? You need to learn, we all do, we need to learn protest rights. You can march on the sidewalks without permits. You can record police in public, and you can assemble in parks. Prepare for worst case scenarios. Write down badge numbers, record injuries, have legal hotline numbers ready, just in case while you're out. Know your state's law. Understand that if your state has identified traffic obstruction as a felony, don't go and obstruct traffic. Make sure that if you are an organizer of protests, that your movements plan the protests in a way that ensures that it does not break the law. And make sure those who are participating in the protests know what the law states. And number 2 is civic action, right? Contact your legislators. Oppose anti-protest bills. Support protective measures. Public campaigns have easily defeated or softened bills in states like South Dakota and Oklahoma that are designed to put a tamper on protests. Vote. And Avery and I have talked about this every single time we get on our bully pulpit. Vote, 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 vote. Right? If anyone is to blame for where we are today, it is us. It is beholden upon us to look in the mirror and say, How did we get here, and what did I do to cause it?
Like we said before, you don't have to vote the same way we do, and that's okay. It's your right. Just go vote. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, I don't care who you vote for. That is your right. That is your choice to do so. All I can do is educate you, just like I can hear your point of view and you can educate me. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna vote for who I vote for. You can vote for who you vote for. It don't have to be the same. Just do it. Just vote.
Mm-hmm. And we say our tagline is stay informed, stay engaged, always color outside the political lines. But this is the stay informed and stay engaged piece. Know what's going on all the time. Be engaged with your community. But not just your community, but be engaged with your politicians. Go to political functions where your politician shows up. Go to their town halls if they have them. And ask them direct questions. Hold them accountable.
I'm not saying
And when they aren't, and when they ignore you, fire them.
we're not saying be an asshole and cause a scene if you're at one of those, town halls, but don't let them slide either. Ask and ask and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Question them. It's okay to question. I teach my little one, and it's backfired. It really has. Let me tell you, she's now a teenager, and holy shit, I should not have. I actually I still am glad I did, but I've taught her to question everything and everyone. That's okay. That's okay to do. It's definitely kicked my ass, but it's okay to question. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to also fear. You can question out of fear too. Just question.
And the final thing is be a part of your community. And I'm not talking like
Your echo chamber.
your echo chamber. I'm talking go out and meet your neighbors. When you walk out the door and you walk down the street or you drive down the street and you see someone out, go shake their hand, go say hi. Find your community and figure out who in your community is going to be there for you, and vice versa. Make sure that they know that you're there for them. Build bail funds and rapid response legal teams. Now, some of us like that's beyond us,
Not
but
me.
but there are some of us who have the ability to reach out and touch legal professionals who can help us in times of need and help us when we absolutely need them to step in and provide support for us.
Yeah, networking is
Yep.
100% important.
Organized safety marshals, medics, tech observers, people who can monitor the situation, know when the police are showing up, monitor the live streams, know that when things are going bad so that you can get yourself out of that area. Document everything. If you encounter the police, make sure that's documented, make sure that it's recorded. If you are going to a protest, that's fine, but don't just go to the protest and go home. Push for accountability, push for oversight, attend council meetings, demand civilian review boards, file lawsuits, build coalitions, unions, clergy, veterans, neighbors. Build all of that together so that as we go through this and as our rights get infringed, we have people that we can lean on. We have people that can support us, and we can support one another. Because at the end of the day, the American society is a society, and it is our responsibility to one another to protect and watch out for one another. Until next week, stay informed
Stay engaged.
and always color outside the lines.